Blog Talk Radio.
Om Namah Shivaya. Hello everyone, this is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to this program about your Kundalini awakening experiences. This is what we're all about here. This is what we talk about. This is all the different manifestations of grace that can happen to an individual. We answer your questions live on the air. So if you do have a question and you are calling in, just realize that you'll be, heard by more than a few people. And these are also archived, and so you can go into this and listen to the show again and again and again. And I do recommend some of the students that are very, very deep into the Kundalini, and they're inside the Kundalini, and they're also, surviving society. And I say surviving society with more of an emphasis on surviving Kundalini. Kundalini is natural to the body. Society, well, not so much. Society is basically living at the behest of the strongest ego sensate programming that is agreed upon by most people in a community or a society. And Kundalini is by far more natural to the human system than society. So those of you that are having Kundalini and surviving society at the same time, I would recommend that you do listen to this program over and over and over. There's plenty of programs. There's plenty of shows that we've done since December 12th, 2012. And so I really do recommend that strongly. And we'll go ahead and begin here. A couple of things that have come to the fore lately, and I mean really lately, is the idea of being truthful with what you say, walking the talk that you talk. So, for instance, just to dive right in here, if you're saying a mantra, then you've got to really mean that mantra. And that mantra, if you really look at the mantra, that mantra is going to supersede anything else that you're doing, anything else that you're thinking. Kundalini is that Maha energetic consciousness. It's the consciousness of God coming through you, within you, blossoming from the inside out. And if that Kundalini divine consciousness has told you to connect with a specific mantra, then you've got to mean it from the deepest point in your heart and from the deepest point in your mind, and you must express that into society. I mean, maybe not verbally express it to the guy that you're buying petrol from or gasoline from. He doesn't really need to know. He'll know through your radiance, but I think that you really need to express it in your actions, in your activities, in your beliefs, in the expression of your life. Your family, friends, strangers, if they don't know about your Kundalini, and for the most part, I would hope they don't, if they don't know about your Kundalini, then they don't need to know that you're expressing a mantra, but they will be able to notice a personality shift within you. That personality shift will be towards walking the talk of the mantra that you're saying. Your words have to start meaning more than just the effect that you're getting from saying the mantra. You've got to really make it count. It's got to be truthful. It's got to be real. And you have, you're saying a mantra. I give myself to my Kundalini, or I give myself to my teacher, whatever it may be. Then you actually do that. Actually, in real time, you do this. Before I get too deep into this, however, I'm going to ask our our lovely audience in the chat room. If the sound is coming through okay, Tanjira or Andrew or Vicky Vaughn, let me know how the sound is coming through, or if it's coming through. I've got my headphones here on. It says Andrew is saying sounds great. Okay, good. All righty, then, coming back. So you've really got to understand that truth matters. Truth, and you've got to understand that what you say is a reflection of what you think or feel or both. And these areas come from, of course, deep internal structures within your psychology, within your physiology, because the Kundalini will make you think certain things or give you certain visions or give you certain feelings. And if you've been mitigating the transformation of your ego away from, say, the attachments of entities, or for the attachment of greed, or the attachment to fear, or the attachment to wanting to gain something that something of the material plane, then you have really got to walk that mantra, walk that talk, walk those words, walk that truth. If you're not walking the truth, then you're basically lying to grace. You're basically lying to the Kundalini within you. And a lot of you feel the Kundalini very strongly. The Sacred Mother is coming through very, very clearly. And she's given you permission to say a mantra. She's given you permission by virtue of the amelioration of, say, a painful symptom or a strong fear, or whatever the blockage may be. She's given you permission to say this mantra. She's given you permission to listen to a teacher. She's given you permission to follow a teacher, obey a teacher, whatever it may be. And as you say those words, and those words have direct effect upon you, you have got to be true to those words. You've got to be true to these words. As you know, I better introduce her right now. Let's see. Ladies and gentlemen, wait, hang on. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure at this time to introduce the Celtic Queen of questionable comforts, Her Holiness, the one and only Santara Kundalini. Yay! All right. Yes.
Hi, everybody. Hi, good to be here.
All right, listen up now. You had an entity investing you a little while ago that our audience is familiar with, right?
Yes, quite a few people listening, I think, would be, of course, yes.
Right, exactly. And what did you do to really insulate yourself away from the programming that entity was pushing onto you?
Okay, there was two things. The primary thing would have been my mantra.
Right.
That would have been my immediate
and the reversals, right?
Yes, that's the next thing, yeah.
Okay.
My immediate response would be the mantra. My second would be the reversals. And the third then would have been the safeties. Incorporating that in. Well, yeah.
Thank you. And so everybody, as Amelia just described, the first response was the mantra. And, I don't want to give, we can't give out the mantra here because that's a very personal thing to the individual. But we'll just make believe that the mantra was, oh, sacred Kundalini, please help me with this evil entity. I promise to eat bananas every day. Okay. Now it sounds like I'm making a joke, but I'm not. That's the first thing that came to me. Okay. So the scenario is that she made a promise to Grace to eat bananas every day, so she could have a banana every single day. It would become a ritual because the presence of the entity in her would put so much pressure on her life. Am I right, Santara? so much pressure
Yes.
that you would never, ever miss a banana every day, right?
Correct.
I mean, you'd carry bananas in the car, in your purse. I mean, anywhere you'd go, if you hadn't had that banana yet, you'd have it, or you just have it first thing in the morning, right?
Yes, of course. And you would always have it available, the banana.
Exactly. Maybe 2 or 3 bananas.
Yeah.
Just, how bad was that pressure from the entity? You'd think you need a whole bunch of bananas maybe to try to bring some balance to that. And what happened? Why wouldn't you just say, "Oh, screw this, I'm not going to eat any bananas"? Well, that wouldn't even come to mind, would it? Because the pressure from the entity is so strong.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, that would not come to mind because I would have the experience of the mantra working, Chrism. So,
exactly.
It would be my saving grace, really. And what is eating that banana assisted me to focus on eating the banana and not listen or behave in the way that was being given at the time.
Yes, very good. Exactly right. And so this is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. And Santara is really a perfect example of this because it's such a perfect opportunity for teaching what I'm talking about today is walking that talk. It's easy to walk that talk when you're getting pressured by a discarnate evil entity. It's very easy. It's almost, you don't forget about it. It doesn't slip your mind. You don't go into a lot of resistance because you see, number one, the mantra is working. Number two, the banana is part of the mantra. And you're making a promise, that type of a thing. And it works. It's working. And that success drives you to commit to that mantra and walking the talk of that mantra even further, even deeper, and with more trust and with more truth with what you're saying and what you're doing. So this is what I'm talking about. Now it's harder to not have the pressure of a dark entity pushing you towards walking the truth of the mantra. It's harder because you don't have that hurt and that horror, and there's a lot of horror to it, my friends. The dark entities will push a lot of trauma, into your awareness. So you don't have that happening. And yet, Chrism's up here saying, well, you still must say your mantra. You still must walk the talk. And that really is the test. That's the harder test because you're coming from a level of complacency. If you say you give yourself to your Kundalini, then you better start doing it in every way. Because if and when the pressure comes to you in whatever way it may come to you, you will want to be able to count on the truth of your commitment to the Kundalini to help you during those times of trauma. And, every awakening has some level of trauma associated with it. The transformation is not trauma-free. Typically, I won't be absolutist with that, but most typically, the higher percentage, it is not trauma-free, and certainly hasn't been for Santara, right, Santara?
Yeah, true, Chrism.
And it was the same thing with me as well. I mean, plenty of trauma to go around for everybody. And so you've got to really make a strong commitment to the words that you're saying. And now let's expand that even further. Let's expand the perimeter of what we're talking about. Be truthful in everything that you say. You are a representative of grace. You are a representative of divinity. You have the Kundalini coursing through you, transforming you, changing you into another version of Homo sapien. It's a Homo luminosus. You're becoming a luminous human being. You must begin to speak your truth, whether or not it's convenient. What you can do is you can learn a little bit of the art of diplomacy, of speaking in a way that covers the area that you need to say in a truthful way, but perhaps doesn't give away your nephew's, 10th birthday. Perhaps doesn't divulge any secrets between you and your spouse. You can say, oh, yes, well, we have certain agreements that we stick to without going into the agreements. You need to speak your truth, express your truth, walk the talk of your truth. And your Kundalini, as some of you know, when you start to lie within the Kundalini, you get a pain in your heart. She gives you this tremendous heartbreak sensation in the fourth chakra, the heart chakra, and it hurts, and you immediately feel this level of guilt because you know exactly why it's hurting, and so you really need to. She does correct us in these ways, and this is good. This Mama Bear, cuffs the baby bear to keep baby bear from falling over the cliff. Same thing here. And so really begin to express and walk as an example of divine truth upon this world. Divine truth upon this world. This is your task. This is what makes the mantra work, is the truth of it. And the truth of it that you are feeling as you say that truth of the mantra, and as you express in a wider field of expression, how you express this divine truth into the population and into the environment. You can talk to a dragonfly. You can give your truth to that cat or that dog or that spider or that fish. They will get the divine vibration that's coming through you and the intention, your intention behind that divine vibration. And so this is another way that the Kundalini allows us to communicate with all life creation on this world. You can talk to the fungi, the black mold. If you got black mold and you don't want that black mold, you can ask that black mold to move within the context of speaking with divine intention-based vibration. It doesn't mean you go out there and you spray some fungicide on the black mold to kill it. You ask that community to find another place, maybe provide them with another place. Same thing with a virus or bacteria. Okay. If any of you are partaking of, what do they call that stuff? Probiotics. Well, then you know that probiotics are basically billions and billions of tiny little living creatures. They put it in juice. Dairy. You have dairy, kefir. Kefir, if you're familiar with kefir, it's kind of like liquid yogurt. And there are billions of organisms, actual live organisms that you drink and you put into your system, and they live, they populate the digestive tract, and they're very helpful in maintaining balance within the digestion. And I'm going to suggest people that do have the Kundalini, because Kundalini does give gastric upset during some levels of the transformation. So you eat the probiotic and you have a lot of prana, you have a lot of chi, a lot of life force within the GI tract that allows for greater levels of digestion. But you also have these amazing communities of life within you, helping your life by you giving them life within you. Okay. And as you have these communities, they also feel your communication, your divine, vibratory, intention-based communication to them, if you should, deign to speak to them, to tie in to the life that is supporting your life. It's very important to do this. Very, very important to do this. And I don't think I have mentioned this so much in any of the other programs before. Sure, I've said, okay, you got to be truthful with what you say. You got to be truthful in how you act. But I'm just meaning this in a stronger way right now. For those of you that have a mantra, and I know there's a few of you there on the program in the chat room right now and who have called in that actually have mantras, you've got to be as truthful to that mantra as you can, especially when it upsets the ego. Especially, let's just say you've been so attached to doing things one way, and you're really, really good, you think, of doing this thing that certain way. The ego likes it, and the Shakti seems to like it, and everybody seems to be in agreement. Wow, this works so well. Oh my gosh, and the Chrism comes along and gives you a mantra, and the mantra is saying, no, you have to do things differently. And oh my gosh, what do you do? What do you do, Santara?
You do the mantra, of course, Chrism.
And even if it's hard and difficult, it goes against the grain, what do you do?
Well, you have a choice. You choose to do it because it is towards the Kundalini within you, and that you're doing the mantra. So you do it.
Right on target as usual, Santara. But saying it is not the same as doing it, and to know something and to understand that, okay, this I have to make this change away from what I've been doing lately. Oh my God, how do I do that? I mean, I'm so greased into this one course of action. I know this road so completely. I know where every turn is, and if you drive like Santara, I know where I can totally break the sound barrier, driving this car around that blind curve with these shrubs on either side of the 6-foot wide road. Yes.
True.
You have to make, it's true. It is true. You should, ladies and gentlemen, go to Ireland if you really want a thrill every time you get into a car. But they're so nice to each other. Instead of having the head-on accident, one of them seems to pull over and just let you go by, and then you pull over for somebody else and let them go by. It's very congenial that way. I like that. But you have got to make the change. You've got to make the switch to doing what it is the mantra is saying that you do. You see, people typically are using the mantra or the communication with the divine is given as a way of affecting a certain response, as a way of doing a certain thing. So if you could say a mantra, okay, my Kunalini, I give myself to you, and I give myself to your ability to peel that banana, so I don't have to get my hands dirty or greasy with that banana juice. Just you're going to peel the banana for me. And lo and behold, there that banana is just being peeled right in front of you. And now, you have to peel that banana a different way, or at least one that allows you to, or even forces you to change. Kundalini is so much about change and accepting change and wanting to be able to embrace change in your life. And so this is what is happening. Often we're not walking the talk of the mantra. So 90% of the time we use the mantra for the effect that it gives us. For the effect of the first line of defense against an entity, as Santara was mentioning, or a first line of defense against fear, a first line of defense against, like if you've got a boss at work, well, it's a first line of defense against, say, something that the boss may be doing that is causing you stress or strain or pain. There's always a reason why you're doing the mantra. How many of you are doing the mantra because it's a truth that you want to express in your life? I'm going over here to the chat room to see how many people are doing that. And got nobody talking about it. They're just back having a nice bottle of water, enjoying the show. Well, that's good. That's cool. All right. So, you've got to really work the mantra. And now I know that I was given a new mantra to give to people. It's a very, love-based mantra, but it's hard because it's the way it's worded. It's a very difficult mantra to do. Sometimes once you start doing it, it's easier. But to initially do it, I'm going to put you in the blue here, Santara. Once you initially do it, it's fairly powerful to do. But it pushes the egotistic buttons, which is, this is where we're really going with this, is we're pushing the egotism, that you may recognize that egotism and go further against the egotism anyway. Okay, so we're pushing back against the parameter of egotistic expectation and complacency. Okay, part of what the mantra is to do that, so that you are no longer addicted to the complacency that the egotistic can provide, i.e. the well-worn road that the egotism represents, and opening into a new way of doing things, a new level of expressing truth. Very, very important for people to understand that you must begin to open up new channels of expressing divine truth into this world. And those of you that are saying, well, gosh, I'm lucky I don't have a mantra. I don't have to do any of this stuff. This is all for them that do. Well, I got news for you. Okay. First of all, you should be practicing the safeties. And the safeties are an activity-based mantra. So you're forgiving, you're being tolerant, you're being patient, you're being truthful and honest and compassionate and giving selfless service into the world. That is as much a mantra as anything I'm going to give to you. Matter of fact, that with a mantra that I've given to you, those two levels of expressive grace are a very powerful conduit towards activating and evolving within the Kundalini equation. Seriously, strong folks, you should really consider doing that. For those of you that have a mantra, really kick into the safeties really strongly now. Find a way to give service to people. Find a way to help that elderly person, that young child, that homeless person. If you're in the northern hemisphere and it's really cold, let's say you're in some of the cold lands of the north, like Minnesota or Ohio or New York or Pennsylvania or New Jersey or in Canada or Russia, China, some of the provinces of India, closer to the Himalayas, you're all inside of a, cold system. Bring somebody something to be warm with, like Rosemary does. Give them that jacket, that coat, those shoes, those boots. Give them some gloves that maybe you're not using so much. Really, really, really give, and give some more. And even if you're not living in the cold lands of the north and you're living in the Mediterranean lands of, like, say, Italy or France, or southern France, or, Greece or South Spain, and, along the Mediterranean, they're going across, like, to Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, California, some parts of California, and so on and so forth, through the African continent, the equatorial African continent, on over across to southern India and Arabia, and, these areas that are warm, even in the wintertime. Give the assistance of your grace to another person. This is what it's all about. Giving the assistance of your grace to another person, that their life may be made easier, or may be made more survivable, or maybe giving them a step up in their evolution, maybe giving them something to sustain them through very difficult times. Teaching them how to fish instead of giving them a fish, so to speak. Okay? Teaching them how to read, teaching them how to write, teaching them how to exercise their body in a way that gives them levels of strength and determination and self-confidence, self-validation. Protecting them, from being harmed or, raped or taken advantage of. I mean, there are so very, very many ways that we can assist each other on this world. Really reach out and really do this work. Apply yourself. If you're feeling the tactility of God within you, the tactility of the divine manifestation from within your body expanding outward, you've got to be able to share that grace with other people and other creation like animals, insects, plants. Do this work. You don't have Kundalini just because, you got lucky. This isn't like you didn't win the lottery here, although, in some ways it can be seen that way, but you didn't because you've earned it. You've earned the Kundalini, not only in this life, but you've earned it in other lives, or you wouldn't be able to have it. You've done the necessary refinement in order to achieve this grace right now. You've done it. Now continue. Go on to the next level, which is, in a very tactile, active-based way, you give your grace to the creations that are on this world and or off this world. Although I'm not talking about ET so much. If ET is here, and unless they've been dumped here in some way or stranded, whatever, give them kindness and help them with their grace. But they also need to do the necessary refinements instead of trying to rob your grace, which is what they typically do. They try to steal your Kundalini in some strange, odd ways. The reptilians are great at that. And, you don't need to communicate with them so much. Okay, they've got a different life path than what you're doing here on this world. Here on this world of Earth and the other dimensional worlds that resonate with Earth, this is excellent school. This is the school of excellence. It's literally a physical refinement into grace from barbarism, from mundane expression, from the deep, brutal, animalistic, instinctual responses to life, to the beyond the word, beyond the love, beyond the human ability to express divine expression upon this world. This is where you're at. This is why I'm exhorting you right now to get out there and do this work. Walk the truth of your mantra. Walk the truth of the safeties. And I don't mean walking, taking a walk. And I know most of you know that I'm not talking about walking, but just in case somebody doesn't know that I'm not talking about just taking long walks. This is being active in your love, in your care, in your compassion, in your tolerance, in the service that you give, in the courage that you manifest within the service that you give. Really, really reach out and start making changes in this society, ladies and gentlemen. Start making changes in this society, because as you're being changed within, well, so can you manifest change outside of yourself. And as you manifest change outside of yourself, so do you support the changes that are within yourself. And so on and so forth. This becomes a zigzag ladder, if you can visualize that, or a Jacob's ladder. Okay. Think about this. And really, really, if you've got a mantra, be truthful to that mantra. Don't just go, I give myself to you, my Kundalini, and then go around and pass out the addictive chemicals, or I give myself to you, my Kundalini, and then not do it. Do it in the ways that I've just described. You've got to be truthful to what is occurring within you. I'm going to come over here. And do you have anything to add to that, Santara?
No, Chrism, I don't. I think you have it all covered. Yeah.
All righty. Well, because, let me see if there's something else here that I'm not covering here. Yeah, okay. This is something else that happened. You've got to stop being ashamed of your body. Literally, you are a container of grace. And it doesn't get much better than that. Okay? You contain divine vibratory emanations. There is nothing more beautiful than that. And I know, that's feeding the ego to some degree by saying that, but it's so far beyond the ego that it's unimaginably disconnected from egoic, self-validation. You are a divine container of grace. You are that chalice, that cup glass, and as that divine representation, you have got to pour out the old self, literally. And this kind of ties in with what I was talking about earlier with walking your truth. As I mentioned at the beginning, is like, you have these expectations of doing certain things in certain ways because they work, and this is how you've done it, and that glass is full. You've got nothing you want to let go of. It's all working well, okay? And I'm coming along and saying, no, pour out that glass. Pour out the glass. As an instruction from your teacher that your inner divinity has given you to. Remember that Kundalini in you has given yourself to a teacher. And even if you're not, an official student of Chrism with a student certification, embossed in fake gold, hanging on the walls of the University of Kundalini Awakening Systems, student of Chrism, valedictorian, whatever. Even if you don't have that, like I know Amelia does, up on her, she has it on every wall. There, kidding. Even if you're not that.
I didn't realize I was red. I photocopied it, yes.
Yeah. Even if you don't have that or the photocopy, you're listening to these words right now. You're listening to the vibration, the intentional vibration from Kunalini through me right now into your eardrum, and from your eardrum into your brain, and from your brain throughout the entire neural system of your body and the physical system. From the blood, the cardiovascular system, to the oxygen carbon dioxide exchange, the digestive system, the ocular visions. I mean, it's going into you right now. You are meant to be hearing this right now, whenever you're hearing it. I'm talking to you folks in the archives too. Hello. You may be listening to this several weeks, months, years, but I'm talking to you right now. Kundalini does not honor timelines. Human created timelines. If you're hearing these words, then you are also bound by them through the grace of Kundalini. And I know that may be also, wait a minute, I'm just exploring, researching the Kundalini. No. You heard these words. And these words create like a tattoo upon a person. So understand that, realize that. If you're hearing these words, then you need to hear these words. And you also need to follow what it is they're giving you to do. All right. I'm going to open it up for questions now. If we have any questions coming in the chat room, let's see. Yeah, loud and clear is the last thing anybody posted in the chat room. So we got our sound check taken care of. But if you have any questions there from Vicky to Tim and Tanjira and everybody else about what it is I'm talking about, feel free to ask it. And if any of the phone callers there that we have on the left-hand column, if you have any questions about this, then I also want you to feel free to ask these questions now. And I know that our faithful goddess of grace, Santara, has collected some questions from her inbox in the various groups, and I'm going to go ahead and open the program to answering those questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready, Chrism. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back to a question you were asked there a couple of weeks ago. The question back then was about Lord Rama, and this person had a dream about Lord Rama, or Rama. And when you answered that question, Chrism, you said to the person that you would need to know, what they were doing within the dream as Lord Rama. And so the person in the dream, I'm tap dancing now as I'm trying to find, yes, the person in the dream says, as Lord Rama in the dream, he was scolding two people for showing him the wrong path or misleading him. And one of those persons was Hanuman, and the other person was escapes me now because I'm
Lakshmana. Lakshmana. All right. I'll go ahead and answer this.
Thank you.
When a person has Kundalini, often they will be put in the shoes of a god or a goddess. What would Isis do in a certain situation? What would Mary Magdalene do in a certain situation? What would Ramachandra do in a certain situation? Well, Rama, it's also known as Ramachandra. He's a major deity in Hinduism. It's the seventh avatar of the god Vishnu, and also is a representation of Krishna, Gautama, Buddha, and is considered a supreme being. So when Ramachandra is correcting Hanuman and correcting Lakshmana, you have to look at what the meanings are of what these other gods. It's like Hanuman is the monkey god, and Lakshmana is also the brother of Ramachandra, and so this is the Kundalini person correcting themselves. In the dream, when a god or goddess is correcting another god or goddess, depending upon what these gods and goddesses represent, it is a self-correction. So if Rama was feeling that he's been misled, well, then he's been misled by certain aspects of his own inner self, whether it be his passion, whether it be maybe familial jealousy, or following a guidance or a misplaced guidance from nature. And the other thing is with Hinduism, because it's basically a shamanistic cult or culture, not a cult. Sorry, that's a religion, but it's a shamanistic-based religion, and all of the gods and goddesses in Hinduism represent aspects of the supreme self, and how a person is to get to expressive supreme self. Well, the questioner has reached that level of supremacy where he can self-correct the aspects of Hanuman and Lakshmana within himself in order that he not be misled upon the path of the inner ascendancy or the inner divine. So that's what's occurring here. That is what is occurring, and I want to thank you for asking that excellent question. Hello?
Okay, you kind of went underwater there, that last sentence or two.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll say it again. Can you hear me clearly?
Clearly again, yes.
Hello?
Hello, we're hearing you, sir.
Carry on.
Continue.
All right. So the last sentence was that as the embodiment of Ramachandra or Rama, the individual is self-correcting aspects of his own self that are misleading, and that would be clearly because Hanuman represents the monkey nation, and monkeys are of course much closer to the natural society than say a civilized human would be. So that would be an egotistic aspect of the individual having the dream and their relationship to nature. Okay, so correcting Hanuman or their relationship to nature, perhaps towards more of a balance within nature, and then correcting, Lakshmana as a sibling, as a part of the family, and looking at his own family, the dreamer's own family, and going, well, how is the family giving me wrong advice, and how is the family not allowing me to move forward, or giving me loving advice that may not be correct. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. And
yes,
also, there's you're welcome. There's a second question, and it is: in 1985, I had read about Kundalini in a yoga book. One had to sit in lotus posture, breathe slowly. One finds later that he is breathing through navel, that is the solar plexus. I found that I was connected to Supreme Soul through prana connection. I would feel connection between myself and Supreme Soul. Was it Kundalini activation?
That would lead to an activation. Yeah. That's why, a lot of the avatars, when a person, and I do the same thing, when a person comes up to me and says, oh, Master Chrism, I want you to activate my Kundalini. I want you to teach me how to activate my Kundalini. I want to have my Kundalini awaken. Please, Master Chrism, tell me what to do. And I say, follow the breath. Follow the breath. And that's exactly what this questioner did. And he followed the breath. And that really is a key. The breath is a strong opening into the supreme being, the divine Atman of grace. And so he did that, and it does work. It does work. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Next question: what happens after we die?
We're dead.
Thank you. Are you going to say more or over?
I didn't say over yet. We're dead. So you have to be dead. Okay. So as we die, various things will happen to a person depending on their karma. Some people will all of a sudden, will be able to step out of their body and look at themselves dead and go, oh boy, WTF now? What do I do now? And they will be allowed to wander the earth as a discarnate soul or a ghost. And sometimes they're tied to a specific geography, like an old house or a battlefield or Amelia's house in Kerry, or sometimes they can wander the land and they'll try to communicate with people, but they're not heard. Finally they get the idea that they can only be felt, and very few people on this world can communicate with them. So it becomes a very lonely type of existence. They are downloaded information about what the new rules are. And so if they had led a life of passionate brutality or passionate kindness, love, these people are being given the task of choosing whether they are to represent love and kindness and happiness and grace, and to become a vibratory companion with a person that may be striving towards those areas. Or, they can go into the demonic and become, basically a continuation of what they were in the zone of negativity and fear and control and things of that nature. And so they become an angel or a demon depending upon their karma. That's one aspect of what can happen when we die. The other aspect is people will go through a tunnel. I've seen the tunnel when I astral project, and so actually a tunnel does form. And you go to a certain area, like an undiscovered land type of area. Typically, it's very beautiful. It's very serene. It's very bucolic in a way. And you'll be met by family members, your mom or your dad, or perhaps a pet. For me, maybe Tika or Lasha or somebody that I knew of, to really give levels of reassurance and give levels of love and happiness. And to be accepted, immediately accepted, and brought into an area where downloads can begin, information can be received, and a person's placement within the fabric of eternity can be assessed. And from that assessment, then the karma is also assessed. And from the assessment of the karma, the next life of the individual can begin to be programmed into that individual. And because there are far more spiritual entities than physical entities, like gazillions of times more than how many world or people there are in this world, you kind of wait for a while, depending once again on your karma, depending on how you were, and what the design is for your divine life and the divine evolution that you're involved with. And then you wait for the right parent to be making love, and the right time and the right society with the right economic representation, with the right language. There's a lot of things that have to click together, and then boom, you're thrust back into the veil of forgetfulness, where you have no idea who you are, what you are, why you are, where you are, and you're once again birthed into the world in order to continue your divine evolution. And then on the other hand, the other option, of course, is that you're there, you're met by loved ones, but you know that you have further to go, and so you perhaps pass through the gate of purification, and you come into the divine heavenly presence of grace if you're Kundalini active or awakened, and you determine how your continued interaction with the unactivated or unawakened people upon the world of Earth should continue or not continue, and do you follow the same timeline that you have just come out of, or do you go back to a different timeline, or do you go forward into another timeline? Do you go back to this world, or is there another world similar to this, or another world that has a slightly higher vibration? And so there are lots of choices that a person can make after they have passed from this world into the next expression. And the next expression is really the truth of who you are. The truth of who you are right now, except for your divine activity and your divine awakening, the truth of your ego, of what your name is, what race you are, what gender you are, what job you have, that is not so much your truth. That's only your truth kind of like while you're here. But after you pass, even though you will be called by that familiar name, because, it is known that this is how you identify yourself. Once you get to a certain level in the next expression, you have another name. There's a different name for you. And you'll begin to go by that name until and if you dive back into the world of flesh and continue your evolution. Over.
Thank you very much, Chrism. Can I just ask, so when the physical body dies, do the other 4 bodies die, as such as well? I mean, are they gone? So they no longer exist?
Well, certainly, like I say, the physical body goes back into the earth. And it doesn't matter whether you're buried or not. If you're burned, the ashes, it still is back into the earth as carbon. But if you're planted, then you spread into the earth. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, really is a truth. As far as the mental body, the mental mind comes with you, but it's not, it goes through a change. Once you pass away from the physical reference points of what the mental mind has discerned to be real, then the mental mind goes through a certain level of evolution. The ego mind is still there, and typically it's in fear as it comes into that place. And so that's why you see familiar sights like your parent, brother, or your favorite pet or something like that. And the emotional body, which is expressing love, or, perhaps at the point of death, is expressing great sorrow, things of that nature. That body will come too, but it will go through a healing, a definite healing upon arrival, or even in transit to the arrival of the next expression. Okay,
thank you, Chrism. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm on to the groups now. So there was a question about high blood pressure, and this comes up every so often, and I don't know if you've spoken about it for a while. And somebody wondering if you have any insights about how, or if the Kundalini energy plays a contributing part in high blood pressure, hypertension.
For hypo. Hyper or hypotension?
For our hypo, yeah. But it was high blood pressure they were specifically talking about, not low.
It would be hyper. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay.
As usual.
Sorry.
Let's see, just a second, because I know I responded in a different way. So let me go over here, and I don't want to. Here it is. So yes, the Kundalini allows the body, the physical body, to have and to hold higher levels of blood pressure, and this can put a great strain on not the heart or the body, but on the ego, as the medical doctors will come along and absolutely assert that you must be put on blood pressure medications or you will die. And the truth of the matter is that Kundalini changes the textures and the thickness and the resiliency of the cardiovascular system. And it also gives you, but it doesn't tell you, it doesn't say, oh, hey, Chrism, by the way, I've changed the textures and the thickness and the resilience of the cardiovascular system. It doesn't tell you that, but it forces you to trust. Forces you to trust. I used to work for the blood bank, and I do these intakes, and And part of the intake system was I had to take a blood pressure. You know, they give you these limits. You know, how far can a person be outside of the accepted medical definition of what high blood pressure is, which they seem to change every other year, which tells me, which you know, doesn't give me a lot of confidence about the medical science as far as blood pressure goes. Anyway, so this one guy comes in, and this is a man who has climbed every peak in the world, you know, from Kilimanjaro to Mount Everest to Mount Shasta, Mount Hamilton. I mean, really, really high peaks, you know, 25, 26, 28,000 feet, right? And he's done all of this, you know, climbing up the mountain, walking up the mountain. And he comes in, and I take his blood pressure, and it's like 3 times beyond the highest limit of what blood pressure is, according to the AMA, or American Medical Association. Limitations are on blood pressure. And I go, geez, you know, how is it you're living? I'm joking with him. You know, and he says, hey, I feel great, you know, but every time I come in, I try to give blood, they always say I can't do it because of my blood pressure. And I've climbed all of the highest peaks on this world, and I can't give my blood to help another person. And I had to say, well, you won't be able to do it this time either. And you know, and I thanked him for trying, and he thanked me for my honesty, and you know, we both went on our separate ways. Blood pressure within the Kundalini is similar to that. Not only blood pressure, but neuro response, the various areas of physical measurement and replicability will have changed within the Kundalini, and heart rate is included with that. Brain waves are also included in that. The ability to have dual sensations at the same time. What I mean, like perhaps having an indication of how the color orange tastes, that type of a thing. There's a word for that, but I forget what it is. Kundalini affects physiological changes upon the body. And blood pressure is one of those changes. I've had hypertension for over 30 years, probably like 37 years now. And since I was a kid, since I was like, you know, in my late teens. And, you know, I never was attracted to the blood pressure medications. You know, no, you know, and even before I, you know, was as aware of the Kundalini as I am now, I wasn't going to participate in that science experiment. Whereas my mother, you know, she takes all the medications they give her and then some. You know, she's got the fishing tackle box full of medications that, you know, this one on that day, that one on this day, and you know, and she takes something called Benazepril or something for her blood pressure, and I just don't. And if that means that I pass before her, then so be it. If that means that in some way my life is shortened, I have given my life to Kundalini. And that's a fact. I have given my life to Kundalini. And if the Kundalini, being of the divine nature that has, decides to make me stay here till I'm 97, then so be it. If the Kundalini decides to take me next year when I'm 58, then so be it. Or this year when I'm 58. Okay, and so I know for a fact that the physiological transformation of vascular systems are changed by the Kundalini. And the Kundalini will typically give off a higher blood pressure, but not always. Some people get an extremely low blood pressure. The definitions of what is healthy and not healthy don't necessarily apply to the divine transformation. Those definitions are based in science and are not based on as much information as is needed to make a correct determination for Kundalini people and appropriate levels of blood pressure. Over.
Thank you very much, Chrism. There's a question from the groups again. My body is raging with sexual energy. How do I deal with this? I am jogging in the freezing cold conditions, but it's not helping much. And before you answer, Chrism, could I just remind people who are listening on the phone that if they want to ask a question or make a comment, number 1 on their dial pad, and we will see a question mark come up, and we will know that you want to speak with Chrism. So that's just a reminder for people on the phone.
Thank you. And if you're listening on Facebook or in some other venue, I want you to feel free to be able to call in. And the call-in number is area code 347. That's a New York City area code. 347-934-0026. So that's 347-934-0026. And there we have it. So, of course, any questions here or in the chat room about this, and please feel free to ask. And yes, it's about sex. So the Kundalini will come along and give extreme levels of sexual desire. And this is fine. This is great. This is good. This is using the reproductive energies of the body into an effective I was going to use this word like transducer, but I'm not sure that's right. An effective application of continuing activation energies of transformation upon the world or upon the person. And I don't suggest that you just cave into that and start masturbating, like a little rabbit on the side of the road. Okay. You need to let that be, and if she wants you, try not to focus on it too much, but if she wants to give you an orgasm, she will. It'll become a spontaneous orgasm, and for men, that means that, plastic underwear time for you. For women, it also means plastic underwear time for you as well. And so, especially if you're at work or you're in a meeting or some sort of a thing, and I can only imagine the expression on your face as that occurs, as you clamp down on your teeth and just kind of like let that occur. But you do not induce it. You do not, stimulate that. You let Kundalini have and direct that response upon you. And men, do not spill your seed unless Shakti wants to spill your seed. You understand? Women, do not give your fluidic response unless the Shakti wants you to have that fluidic response. And so really, really, really practice as much discipline as you can. Go out jogging in the snow. Go and do some heavy work. Work out. Go into meditation so that maybe you're not feeling it as much. But do whatever you can do to allow that to occur on its own naturally without your egotistic psychology interjecting its desires and its wants and its outcomes. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. There was a question has popped up on the group there since we came on air. So and you've spoken on this before as well, but it's about, the question directly is, anybody got any tips on ego death?
Well, we don't kill the ego. We don't kill the ego in this work. Ego death. No, we don't kill the ego at all. We retrain it. And this takes me right back to ahimsa, do not kill, do not harm. Why would we step outside of ahimsa when it comes to our own self? So we don't. We don't step outside of ahimsa. We take the ahimsa and we take that ego self and we retrain it. And it's so much better to do it this way because at the same time, we're retraining part of ourself, part of who we have depended on for survival since we were born here. You know, it's the ego that is developed as we survive, the ability to say no, the ability to stand and to walk and to make our way in this world as a child. And we don't kill the inner child. We just retrain that inner child. And it's the inner child is an actual thing, even in the Huna belief system, which is the Polynesian Hawaiian belief system. The ego is considered the unihipili, and the unihipili wants to become a higher mental functioning self. And so you teach that inner child, that ego, what it needs to do, how it needs to change in order to become that higher mental functioning self. And this is what we do instead of this whole ego death thing, this coloration of violence upon our inner self that I don't really agree with. I don't think we need to call it that at all. But ego re-education, I think, is a much more appropriate term. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. My query today is concerned with cannabis. I've been consistently meditating for about 6 months with the practice of the safeties and qigong that I threw in for good measure. I'm an alcoholic and a methamphetamine.
Methamphetamine. Yeah.
That word. And heroin addict. So when I say daily use of cannabis and only cannabis, it is actually a lot of progress for me. I'm wondering how much cannabis, if at all, is hindering my practice. I'm sure it does to a degree, and I'm open to criticism here, but it feels as if my Kundalini is okay with this drug, my meditations are productive, and my energy reservoir feels larger than ever. Opinions?
Well, okay. So there's a lot of entities attached to this person, sucking the ego into instant gratification through diverse chemical intake. For this specific individual, this one individual, because typically I'm not supportive of marijuana intake during Kundalini processes, but for this specific individual, yes, they can go ahead and lean on that for a little while longer, but not continuously. And I know that they're not exactly telling the truth about what it is they're doing, because they're doing more of a continuous. They're stoned all the time in order to regulate the yearnings and cravings for other scenarios. So I would say, the marijuana is probably the least damaging of the list that has been mentioned. Typically, no, I do not think that it is appropriate to use the marijuana crutch as a way to access higher areas. But given the alternatives, sure, go ahead and do it. And if you're having a true meditation and not just a stoned out, gazing at the floor experience, then this can help you. This can help you reach into some areas of grace. So I would have you do that rather than some of the other options that you mentioned. And then, of course, as you go through the next 6 months and slowly begin to decrease the amount of cannabis that you're taking in, and until the point that you're free of any chemical libation that you would use to artificially induce feelings of goodness and happiness and joy, and be good with who you are, how you are, why you are, what you are, where you are, without.
Thank you very much, Chrism. I'm just having a check on the studio, and if you go over there, we've got a listener who would like to speak with you.
Okay, there we are. Hello, you're online with Mr. Chrism.
Hello, Master Chrism. Mohan here.
Hey, Mohan. Did you like the British? Did the British work?
I don't know. I'm kind of in a confusion here. I'm in a phase where like nothing seems to be interesting to me. Like I don't know. Everything looks like Maya to me now. You want to pursue anything, I get into a phase like if I do this, then I'm going to end up doing this, and I'm going to end up doing this, which doesn't, which is not that useful, like for my spiritual path. So I don't want to do anything like what I routinely do, or talk to friends, or involve in some discussions.
Well, that's okay. That's okay if you're going through a level of self-isolation. You're still going to work, right?
Yeah.
You're still relating to your wife, right?
Yeah.
You're still.
I think whatever I have currently is like I'm okay with it. I don't want anything more beyond that. Say money, say new relationships, or new information.
That's okay. Keeping the status quo is okay, Mohan. I mean, you're in a position where, you have enough energetic changes happening to you right now. You don't need more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You don't need more. You need to focus on what you have. Did I give you a mantra yet?
No.
Well, then I'm going to give you a mantra, and then you'll add that to what it is you already have, and that should be enough. So just focus on work, focus on wife, focus on children, focus on Kundalini and the mantra, and that's a full plate, my friend. That is enough for the time being. Don't need to overload you.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, and I'll talk to you about the seminar, and all of that stuff off the air. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And will you be giving me the mantra on air now or offline?
That'll be a private thing.
Okay.
And Nara, that's not the mantra that I want to give Mohan. So just keep yourself. So anyway,
okay.
Nara, come here, honey. Good girl. Yeah, that's not the mantra that Mohan wants. You can give that to somebody else. It sounds to me like you're doing well. The self-inflicted isolation is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. You just go with what you got, and because what you have is being amplified. And, the grace within you wants you to do a certain thing in a certain way for a certain amount of time. That doesn't include a lot of extraneous type of things. You're keeping your household together. You're taking care of the work. Continue, my friend. Continue. And you and I will Skype, later on, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, sure.
Hey, Amelia. Oh, Amelia. Poor thing. She's probably
Hi.
hungry.
Okay.
Oh, hi. Hello.
Munch. Okay. So the next question is, I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening last March, and after that I had the feeling that I could heal, and I've been practicing a little bit on family members. I'd like to help more people now. My question is there any form of healing that is best for healers that are living with awoken Kundalini, and is there something that I should be aware of? Thank you.
Yeah, let the Kundalini do the healing. Take your ego consciousness out of it. Take your planning out of it. Walk into the room and just stand there first and feel what the radiance begins to do to the individual that may need a healing. Just stand there first and then feel your Kundalini. She'll either draw you towards the person or draw your hands to a certain area, and try as best you can to be in a strong level of devotion to the Kundalini. I'm going to ask you, Centaur, what do you do before you give a massage?
Before I give a massage, I do that. I say my mantra. I go into devotion to the Kundalini, and I'm focused on that before I begin. In that way, I don't bring my own personal, wishes or desires or ego wants for the person, because we have a tendency to want to do things and to be, in there fixing and helping and doing things. And so the devotion to the Kundalini allows that, allows me to be present, and then the Kundalini is the one that is present there rather than me or my ego. Well, I am there, but you know what I mean, my ego projections and that sort of thing.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're making dinner.
Just a second. I got unplugged.
Sounds like
here.
You're doing in the kitchen or something, yeah. So I mean, that's the reason that I would go into, that I always do go into devotion before I do my massage with the client.
Oh, many thanks. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, I am. You're welcome.
Okay, all right. So there we have it. Over.
Okay. That's really interesting. I think I've asked that before. I have too. I don't know if I have any more questions, which is, you've been speaking longer. Yeah, I mean, we've a lot of time to go, and I think I'm actually, there was a question actually on the group, so I'll read it out with them. How can you tell if you have had a full-blown Kundalini awakening? Also, why is it I had researched what this is and tried causing through binaural beats, and it feels like I had something similar to a long
wait. He's gonna go through this long list. Binaural beats.
It's a long list.
Yeah. Binaural beats are not recommended for Kundalini activation. Binaural beats, I guess, are fine for going into a state of open trance. It can get you into a trance easy enough. But being in a trance is not being in the Kundalini. And I do not recommend that without people going through the refinements that are necessary for Kundalini awakening to occur, or Kundalini activation. If you do it artificially through binaural beats, then you're asking for some pain. You're asking for some migraines. You're asking for some pain because you have done nothing really to encourage the emotional refinements, unless you have. Unless you're leading a life of the safeties and of the being kind and compassionate, consciously kind, consciously compassionate, consciously mindful, consciously service-oriented, consciously forgiveness, consciously truthful all the time. That type of, and there are people out there that do that. So if that's the person that you are, then so be it. I mean, then I would suggest you would, get off of the binaural beats, which is really about as lazy a way to activate Kundalini as it gets, and start doing an active practice of the safeties twice a day. That's what I would do. Over.
So, Chrism, there would be, let's say, tactile or visual sensations that come with such things, and people mistake them, I guess, do they, for Kundalini, or are they?
The guy needs to go to the symptom chart, really. Go to KundaliniAwakeningSystems1.com and look up the symptoms chart, and that will give you an idea of how things are going. Now, he listed a bunch of symptoms before, and, a straight line of energy going up his spine and stopping at the base of the skull and things like that. And I'm not buying that as Kundalini, not at all.
Okay.
But I am buying that as him wanting to feel as if the Kundalini is coming up, and so, in a way, probably consciously or subconsciously manufacturing a sensation, which people will do. Over.
Okay. Thank you. There's a question after popping up in the group, and perhaps Felicia is listening to the show. I'm not sure, but the question is, what does one do as far as devotions to the Kundalini? What do one do as far as devotions to the Kundalini? That's the question.
Okay, well, saying a mantra is a really good way. Removing the clothing and being natural in front of a picture or a statue or some sort of a thing that represents Kundalini to you. It could even be, a white feather or a robin's egg. It doesn't matter. As long as it means Kundalini to you, unclothe yourself unless you're in an environment that is too cold, like Pennsylvania in the United States right now. It's like, really, really cold. And, the whole idea of removing your clothing is about purity. It's about purity, but it's about purity of body, mind, soul. So let's see. Pennsylvania, parts of Pennsylvania right now are going to come down to 11 degrees. And I don't want you taking your clothes off unless you've got indoor heat, and you can. Parts of Minnesota are down to 25 degrees. So if you're in a cold environment, no. And let's just say you don't have indoor heating. You're not able to keep the temperature up, say around 58 or 60 or however, wherever you like it to be. Then bundle up, get some layers going. But if you are, then if you do have that availability, then remove your clothing, get on your hands and knees, put your forehead to the ground at the base of whatever symbol of Shakti or Kundalini that it is you're using, and give yourself to the grace within you. Let that representation be a dual representation, the representation of the Kundalini within you and the Kundalini outside of you being the same thing. It's like understanding that water and ice are the same thing, just different manifestations. And give yourself, I give myself to you, my Kundalini. I give my mind to you. I give my life to you. I give my body to you. I give my obedience to you. I give my love for you. I am yours to direct. Please direct me, my Shakti, my Kundalini, my Shiva, my Kundalini. And if you're a Christian person, then you say, I give myself to you, my Christ. I give myself to you, my Magdalene. I give myself to the holy fire of Christ that you represent within me, and I ask for you to direct me in any way that you will. And if you're a Buddhist, you see the same thing with Buddhists. If you're a Hindu, then you manifest the same thing for Shakti and Shiva. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Okay, this is one way that a person can give devotion to the Kundalini. And another way is to give complete and total service to the world through the Kundalini within you. And being open to that guidance, being open to that programming. And another way is to have her give you a teacher and then to serve that teacher in every way that the Kundalini inspires the individual to do. And so if that teacher gives the person a mantra, well, we go back to the beginning of this program. And you speak the truth of that mantra, and you act the truth of the mantra, and you express honestly, truthfully, the meaning of the words that mantra contains. You don't just slough it off as some sort of a thing that you can do to get certain results and then ignore it the rest of the time. Okay. So yeah, there's three ways right there to give devotion to Kundalini. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. And speaking about Holy Fire of Christ, there was a question came up on a group, and it is asked, is Kundalini the Holy Spirit? So in a Christian context, would you be able to speak on that, please?
Yes. The Holy Spirit is, it doesn't mean the same thing to all the different denominations. And so for me to generalize and just say, oh, yeah, the Holy Spirit's Kundalini, well, it isn't for everybody, and it is for some. For those people that are, say, doing the strong Baptist type of Christianity, then yes, it would be the Holy Spirit. For some of those that have become fanatical Catholics, then yeah, it would be the Holy Spirit would be a representation of Kundalini. For those that are passive, in a lot of these areas, then no, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. There are other attributes to this too, and I'm being shown someone being pressed in church. It can also there can be, like, for lack of a better term, an angelic presence that can physically persuade a person to receive the holy fire of Christ. Yeah, so I'm seeing a person being pressed to the floor in devotion inside of a Christian church, and people really just loving it and hating it at the same time because they're not able to do that. Yeah, so there are different forces that will guide a person towards the Kundalini. It won't always be the invitation from the Kundalini itself. It can be an invitation from karma. So, for instance, the laws of karma don't necessarily follow the logical linear sense that we think they would, i.e., if you do something bad, then you're going to have something bad done to you. Do something good, then you're going to have something good done to you, that type of thing. It's not as easy as that. Sometimes the laws of karma and the lords of karma, shall we call them, will step in, and at the age of 33, a person will need to have the Kundalini experience because karmically, that is when they're supposed to have it. And that person may not have any kind of a clue that that's supposed to happen at the age of 33 in the Our Lady of the Graceful Heart Church in Chabot, New York, or Texas, wherever. And as they're attending church, they're sitting in the middle of the church, and the preacher says, "Hear me all, you speaking of the Lord here, and come forward down the aisle of grace and touch my hand and be saved into the Lord Jesus Christ." And you might see that person sitting in the middle of the church get pressed down to the floor. And if you were able to see the wider visual of what's actually going on, you could see another being pushing them from right above the fourth chakra down to the floor. And moving them down the aisle through the people, saying, excuse me. Sorry, yeah, excuse me. Oh, yeah, thank you. Until they get to the aisle, and then pushing them down the aisle, and then coming up to the preacher and really, really receiving and giving at the same time that grace of the divine fire of Jesus, which would be, a Kundalini activation.
There's another question. I begin to feel pressure in the nose. Is it blocked energy, please? Thank you. What? What?
It's just going from being in that church to somebody's stuffed up nose. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily a blockage in the nose. There are two channels that travel up from each nostril, up through the bridge of the nose into the crown chakra. And sometimes one is more active than the other. Sometimes they switch off. And sometimes they work together in tandem. Doesn't mean that you have a blockage. It just means you need to give a little bit more time. And you don't need to take an antihistamine or anything like that. You just need to follow the breath and let the energy go up whichever side Kundalini decides it wants to go up, rather than thinking that you know better than Kundalini. Okay, over.
Okay, thank you. There's a question here, Chrism, specifically, obviously, to a person. I'm finding it hard to surrender to the Kundalini. I'm on the verge of leaving my husband. And the question is, how do I know if what I am feeling is being magnified or if it is as bad as I am perceiving it to be?
Well, you look at how much blockage the marriage may be to the individual equation. Can the equation be supported by maintaining the marriage? Well, if so, then yes, you stay. Sometimes spouses are used by Kundalini as a way to give pressure onto the psychology of the individual having the Kundalini, and for that person to be able to manifest levels of resiliency to that pressure and embrace that pressure eventually. So you don't want to sidestep the marriage simply because things are being difficult. But if the marriage is actively, like say the spouse is saying, you are not going to do this practice or any of those practices in this household, no matter what. Or if there's an abuse going on, somebody's getting hit or somebody's being injured, that type of a thing. Then that is definitely a cause for disunion. Over.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes,
okay, one last question.
You there?
What is a good? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Calling Chrism. Okay. What is a good solution to acidity gastric problems? Hello?
Hi, is that it?
No, I've one more.
Okay. I have these headphones.
Here it comes.
When I let my ears breathe, it turns off automatically. They're like they have sensors inside the ear cup, and so I'm.
Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. What is a good solution to acidity gastric problems due to Kundalini? I'm facing this even before my Kundalini started. I've seen. Yeah. Is there a successful solution?
To gastric issues?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Make the food really make the food really, really bland. No spices, not too much sugar. Use honey instead of table sugar. Drink lots of water. Take some probiotics. Get some kefir going. And that should help you tremendously, actually. Over.
Okay. So, Chrism, that's the end of the questions. So maybe I could just let people know where they can go to if they want to make a donation.
Okay.
You can go to the website. There are two I'm going to suggest. One is www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com, and the other one is www.kunalini KundaliniSafeties.com. And on those two sites, one has a donate button, and the other one, you just scroll down to the end of the page and you'll see how to make a donation, and just follow the guidelines there. Chrism also has an email address that you can go to if you have a PayPal account. So you just put in his email address, and it's chrismitchell369@yahoo.com. And the other thing then that I would also like to say is that Manish is organizing a Kundalini gathering, a Kundalini seminar with Chrism in Germany next May. And she hasn't actually published this yet on any of the electronic or media. So you're really hearing it here for the first time. She'll be going public soon. She has limited availability due to the venue, so it's not going to be a large seminar. And she has already got people that have signed up and are actually after paying up for the seminar. So if you're listening to this and you're in a position to go to Germany and you're considering that you would like to do that as a pilgrimage or as a trip to meet Chrism as a Kundalini Awakened teacher, or to meet other people who have Kundalini, or to meet people who are pre-Kundalini and are coming to meet with Chrism and hear more and receive a Shaktipat perhaps. Wherever you're at, if you're listening to this and you have an interest, well then I'd suggest to get onto Manisha before she goes public with it. So it's happening first of all on the 26th and the 27th of May in a couple of months' time. And Manisha is on Facebook. She's got her own Facebook page. It's Manisha, Maneesha, Manish. And I'm going to give you her email address as well. It's manisha@posteo.de. That's manisha@posteo.de. And you can write to her there, and she will give you all the information that you need. So if you're interested, get in touch with her, and perhaps we'll all meet there. That's it, Chrism. End of announcements.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. And I also want to add to some of those announcements, as I discussed a little bit there with Mohan. He's looking for a venue in Denver, Colorado. And if that happens, then it'll be one before Germany. Germany is far more of a reality, though that's actually happening. But Mohan for the United States in Denver, and so we can look and see how that is developing as well. And I would like to just begin to reiterate, it is so amazingly important to the Kundalini process in the individual, especially if you're saying a mantra. Walk that talk. Take the mantra apart and apply every aspect of it literally to you, to your personality, to your devotion, to your love, to your mind, to your physical body. Get yourself fully supported within that mantra and make it true, make it real. Do not back away from this because of your ego. Do not back away from this because it doesn't seem like it would be accepted by society. Do not back away from this because it's counter to the way you have been doing things. Truthful in what you say. And even if you're sub-vocalizing, I can see somebody's ego going, well, I didn't say it that way, so if I didn't say it out loud, then it doesn't count. It does count. Everything counts. All your thoughts count. And allow your thoughts to really become convinced of the truth of the mantra that you're saying. Let it be actualized. Let it be actualized, and let it be the truth of your soul, the truth of your Kundalini speaking to your soul. the truth of your soul speaking to your Kundalini. It's very important. It's never something that you just ignore because you're lazy or because you've got another way of accessing Shakti or Shiva. It's never anything like that. You've got to dive into this completely. Completely. Last words, Amelia.
Thank you very much, Chrism, for today's show. Thank you to everybody for listening and the people in the archives, and look forward to seeing you all again same time next week.
Then I would like to thank you, Amelia Centaur, for being the progenitor of this program, for supporting it, for being on it, for creating it, and maintaining it. So many, many thanks to you. I'd like to thank all our callers, from Mohan to Rosemary to the 216 caller. I'd like to thank everybody in the chat room. Thank you very much. And I look forward to, that was either a really happy Taco Bell experience or something else. I don't know. Anyway, everybody listening in the archives, hello, and please pay attention to the topic of this program, which is expressing the truth through your words. I'd like to say thank you for everybody listening on Facebook, and I look forward to seeing you this time next week. And here we go.